talking to Tabs.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I am here with Tabs. And first off, got to ask you about the game. It was very clean cut after a certain point in the game. So what went so well for you? Was it the draft? Was it what happened in game?
Yeah, we pretty much got the draft we wanted. The early game went really well. When they decided to trade towers, we got an inhib for free and blew like Nautilus' flash. From there on, things went pretty smooth because we have a really strong late game with the Soraka Kog'Maw in team fights. He just heals me and nobody can kill me. And I just stand still and right click and everyone dies. And that's how it goes.
Stand still and right click. Well, I've got to talk about the Kog'Maw first off. I mean, why is it such a good pick now? Was it just because of the buffs or was it the changes that happened?
He just has such overwhelming DPS now that if you can't kill him instantly, then he just dominates the whole team fight. And yeah, he's especially good against these kind of comps that want to go all in on him because he's really bad at chasing forward, but if everyone runs into him, his rune lance is going to hit 3 people and just everyone dies.
So do you feel like you need a composition built around him to make him work, or can you just pick him whenever?
You can kind of pick him whenever because he's a really big prio target for everyone. If he doesn't die, like the enemy is guaranteed to lose, right? So I think you can build comps around him that work very well, but he can technically fit into anything.
Okay, so last question here, Tabs. I know you quit the game a long time ago, but I know you have that sick APM as an OSU player, so do you think that helps when you're stutter stepping as Kog'Maw, or do you literally just stand still and blow people up?
I mean, in the early stages of the game, when you're like at 2.0 attack speed, it helps a lot, but when you reach like 3.5, you just kind of go Nexus turret mode and you right click and get pentakill, so.
You just become a Nexus turret. Well, thank you very much for the interview. Congratulations on the win, Tabs. We're going to send it over to the analyst to take a look at that win.
Thank you very much, Pulse. And Tap said it there himself. The DPS too much to handle. Very interesting to me was the way the discussion went here on the desk, starting in picks and bans, and the mistakes were not mistakes any of the teams made, and the Kog'Maw in the composition, and then how it changed when we saw the game play out. Let's start with your initial thoughts when the picks and bans were revealed.
Very surprised it wasn't like their Juggernaut composition we normally see, because Lulu was open, even in second rotation, even third rotation, but they wanted a Corki in mid lane instead. So it looked super scary because the composition Splyce has is like so built around mid-game fights, diving towers, Alistar, Elise, Lissandra. That is perfect to shut down an AD carry who wants to scale up a little bit. And against like Soraka, you can dive her and kill her instantly. So I feel like Splyce had a lot of options in how to play this game. The problem is once you go late game, as Tabs talked about, the damage runs out and then you just stand still and you just shoot at everything.
And I look at this comp from Splyce and I'm like, this game realistically shouldn't be reaching that late game point. The problem was they get into the game and you see the situation, you're on Splyce, you've got Elise, you've got Kalista, you've got Alistar. You have to assume that they're going to at least like heavily look at lane swapping here. Gragas, you've got Kog'Maw, you've got Soraka. Yes, Soraka is good in a laning situation to keep somebody alive, but Splyce just played the lane swap so badly. That stage where the inhibitor tower goes down at like 8 minutes and they're just sat top lane with 2 people like trying to take it down, that put them so far behind that they lost enough map pressure and enough vision so that they could never dive. And if you don't shut down this Kog'Maw early on, that's when he's going to become effective, just as Tab said.
Yes, that's easy to say now. It's how the game play out, but we have a couple of replays because we weren't believers, honestly, especially the fact that he becomes so immobile. And this was one of the first examples, however, versus 5, that Kog'Maw gets out of a really tricky situation. Could have been luck here, but we'll see later on that it wasn't.
This is a fight that realistically ROCCAT should be winning anyway, but there's something I wanted to highlight here. So the engage goes on to Tabs, and then Senkux goes in, gets disrupted and can't really get the follow-up onto Tabs. But Tabs is tanking Baron, has to flash himself away, get away from some of the damage from Senkux as well. But this is an example of when Tabs wasn't able to get all of his damage out. If you can disrupt the Kog'Maw...
But also doesn't die when he's stuck.
True.
That's very true. It's more if you disrupt the Kog'Maw, you stop his damage, they still won that fight from the numbers.
But I think some of the big things to highlight with the comp for ROCCAT in the late game is how, now he's just going to stand still, by the way, and kill people. But there's some very interesting things with some of the picks from ROCCAT, how Soraka, when Lissandra as their main damage dealer to kill Tabs in the backline goes in, you just put their silence down where the claw comes. So she can't activate it, she can't kill Tabs.
Healing Tabs in the meanwhile.
Yeah, he just stands there. And then you have the Kalista, who's the second damage dealer, but Freddy's playing Malphite, so he's just gonna go to Kalista every time. So late game, Splyce could only like perfectly flank and almost kill the Soraka first, and then take out Tabs to win the fights. But actually, the comp late game made sense
It
from
worked.
ROCCAT. But getting to that late game point, the fact we get that trade with like 3 towers, when you have Kalista Alistar, as soon as the laning phase, the lane swap is over, you look for a 2v2 lane because you want to set up tower dives, you want to gank that lane with Elise and TP Lissandra. That never happened. Splyce were trading side lane towers and Taps got so much gold. And then we hit late game, and the comp actually really worked out in late game.
It did. Wow. In the end, we were talking about breaking points, yes or no. For ROCCAT, hey, they got a win on the books. Very good for them. And up next on our stage is the Unicorns of Love and Giants. We'll be right back with a look at that matchup, so stay with us.
Teleport from Fred in behind. Trashy's in trouble. Unstoppable force a flash away from Kobby.
That's what Splyce is looking for right now. Teleport and Fate Skull into knock up.
It's over already. Extinct. And this will be a magnificent fight for Splyce. They haven't killed him yet. Taps is still surviving. He's still firing. He's way more important than a turret. And Taps survives everything. Airwax and Freddy, they found themselves too. There's a shutdown onto Extinct, but the damage is already done. ROCCAT break their 9-game losing streak.